Hey everybody, Barry here again. Desperado is starting to make some power, and I put a 3200 stall FTI converter in this about a week ago, and I'm afraid it's going to make too much heat. I launched it at 3500 RPM yesterday. The truck is all-wheel drive, so it can really make some heat in that transmission. Right now, I only have the stock radiator cooler in it. There's no external cooler at all. It's just like the radiator. And I'm going to get rid of that because I don't want 180 degree coolant cooling my transmission fluid. So Jorge got on the old Jungle site and ordered me a part without me knowing, actually. He said, hey, I ordered you this. There it is. That is a TruCool 40K, or I should say TruCool 40K. It's a mirror image from what I can see. I haven't actually taken it out of the package yet to really take a look at it. But look at this thing, dude. Holy, that's almost as big as my intercooler. That is nuts. Nice big fittings in it. And it has mounting brackets. Now, I'm obviously not the first person, and I won't be the last person to mount this to a GMT800 truck. So there's lots of videos on this and lots of different ways to mount it, but I'm just gonna show my take on it. Now, I'm sure there's not a lot of Escalades going getting turbos put on them and big transmission coolers and stuff, I suppose, besides Ryan Blazer. So I'm not gonna bore you guys with taking all this stuff off. There's just a few clips here. Pop this top piece off, one 10mm bolt, and we just pop the grill out, and it's very easy. It's actually easier to take apart than the Silverados from what I can see. So let's get our first look at this thing and see how it's gonna fit. That is a big cooler, dude. Oh, that is a big cooler. I think it's gonna fit absolutely phenomenal. I wonder, can I sneak it in behind without scratching it in pieces? If I can get it right behind the grill, this is where I'd like to have some of those nutserts, because they're really cool. I need to order one of those tools. Oh yeah, I think this is going to work well. Let me just lay the grill into place and see where most of the airflow is going to be, which is pretty much everywhere below this bolt hole is going to be airflow. The air is going to be directed upward by these fins. I'll keep the cooler below the bolt hole, but I don't want to tuck it behind this hood latch bracket here, so I would say probably right there would be perfect. Very nice. I think I'll go ahead and use those steel straps that are on there because they came with the kit, so why not? That's these right here. They're not very custom looking, but I can use them to bolt it in, and I could screw it into right here sideways, basically just making an L bracket. I bet that would work really well. I'm just going to try it out. I'll bend this bracket. Don't mind the background. In the last video I switched over to Hydro Boost, and I'm still not got a chance to clean up since then, which is no excuse. Just gonna bend this right here. I do have 4 of these brackets, and I'm hoping that I'll only really need to use like this little bit of it. So I do have extra tries if need be. I'm just gonna try to mock this up quickly so it'll stay in one place. Oh, it's not quite high enough. When I can, I like to stack things up and lay it on top just so I can really mock it up without having to hold everything, because that's kind of a pain. And I think that looks pretty decent right there. I can see a sliver of light between the bracket here and the top of the cooler, so I know everybody airflow is going to come in except for these little spots right here, but that's really probably 5%, and that's not going to help or hinder anything. Just basically have to center it when I'm ready. Just lay that in place and see where we're at. Oh man, look at that. That is just about perfect. Probably put a little spacer in each side so that it can sit off of this bracket here or this rail a little bit. But I think that will work. I'm just gonna make one more of this one so that I can mount it on the top, and I'll trim it off and clean it up, make it look good. And then we'll go on to the bottom. It's gonna take a little bit different bracket, but it'll still be essentially the same thing. Now, I wasn't going to use it, but this actually came with some decently okay hardware. It's got some screws here. I'll just drill a pilot hole so they can thread their way in. And here's the bolts. I'm sure that isn't stainless, but geez, man, it looks awfully close to stainless. Regular old metric bolts. Comes with some lock washers. I'm not going to be using these clamps for sure, because that would be sketchy. And some nice fittings here. Yeah, little brackets are made. They're not real pretty, but they will work. So I'm going to bolt this onto the cooler like that. Drop the part. I always have too much stuff in my hands. Just throw that one on there. This side goes over there, and this basically should stabilize itself right where it wants to be when I get it level. So it's going to sit a little bit lower, which is okay. I could potentially drill out this hole here if I need to, if it sits too low, which I don't know if it might. But then I'm afraid it'll sit too high if I go the other way. So that's it right there, actually. That's not bad. So basically it's stabilized itself there. I'll get a small level and put across here to make sure that it's level. And then I can make my brackets go from here up to there. That actually looks pretty good. And all I need to do to get this off of the frame here is basically move it back a little bit and drill my pilot hole there and do the same on the bottom. And all of a sudden now I'm a 1/4 inch away from the bracket and there's going to be no vibration damage. I couldn't find a level to get any video of it, so I used the level on my phone, and I have it perfect. It's 0 degrees. It's right on the money. So I'm going to go and move this back just a little bit and drill the hole. I'll probably drill it right in the center, actually, because you can see right here that it's kind of overhanging a little bit. And if I drill it right in the center, it'll get it back to about right there. So I think that is going to look really, really good. Mark my center line. Now I'm not sure exactly what size hole those screws want, but I know 1/8 is smaller, so I'll just drill it out to that. Hole is drilled. This is a little bit bigger, but I'm going to see if it can kind of swell out the aluminum. Well, that didn't work. Well, I twisted off the screw. So I'm hoping that it didn't go in very far and I can drill it out a little bit more. Obviously the screw is pretty soft. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to drill it and not just dance my bit around it. Oh, well, Looks like it's working. Oh, we don't always get lucky like that. Well, I've learned my lesson, so I'm going to move on to something a little bit heavier duty. I have these hex head self-tapping screws right here. I'm going to go ahead and use these. Okay, actual self-tappers this time. There we go. Why didn't I do that the first time? Beautiful. Now for the bottom brackets. I wonder if I'll get away with using the third hole. I would screw it to the back, but I don't think that will be really necessary because I have to take my radiator out. It'll be kind of annoying. I don't think that one will be long enough, so I'm going to cut it off at the fourth hole and bend it and get it in the right place. I'm off level just a little tiny bit, so I might have to kind of adjust that, but that's not a big deal either. Yeah, got a plan. I'll be able to see now if I can just bend the bracket. You might have to come up kind of on an angle like this. That should do it. I'm just going to bend it between where? I'm going to bend it between the third and fourth hole right here. I think that'll look the best. Brackets are bent. I just stuck them in the vise and pulled down with my hands, gave them a couple little taps. Good to go. Now let's see if this is going to work or if I've just ruined my brackets. Ooh, it's actually really close. Look at that. It's like really, really close to the first hole that's already there. Because it doesn't match up with the hole back here, and it doesn't match up with this one. It's really close to that one there. And just kind of drill that hole out too, just to finesse it a little bit into getting the bolt to fit there, and it'll still look good. I just went ahead and adjusted the top to make sure that it's perfectly level across here with the red, because I don't like how it didn't look level. And just realized that if I put my bracket right here, it lines up almost perfectly with this hole right there. Like in this case, actually, it does line up just about perfect. And right over here, pretty much the same thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill the hole and bolt that up there and have it come down to this hole. That way I can just bolt it right in like that. And that's gonna be nice and strong. And I think it'll look fun as well. Just gonna drill that out. I'm going to drill it bigger than it needs to be because it's going to work either way, so it'll give me a little bit of adjustment anyway. Well, now that the cooler is mounted, I can go ahead and do my lines. Like I mentioned, I only have the radiator cooler, so there's a line that goes in down here on the bottom, and there's a line that goes in right here on the top. I need to disconnect those lines and join rubber hose to it, and then bring them out to meet this right here. Now, some people may wonder why I mounted it upwards or upside down or whatever. That's recommended. I don't know if it's legit. I don't even know if it matters, but people recommended it based on fluid comes in through here, goes down, fills every core here, every rib or whatever you want to call it, or plate, and then up through the top. So fluid flows through every tube here. Whereas if you came in from the bottom, it would basically take the path of least resistance, which would be to fill 4 or 5 of the bottom tubes, or maybe even a few more, and then down through the bottom. And it would basically just collect and suspend fluid up here. Again, I don't know if it matters, but hey, I think it looks cool like this anyway. And it was easy enough to mount, and my lines are already, one line is right at the top, and I'm just gonna try to sneak them out past the headlight here, which I don't think is gonna be too much of an issue. If I have to, I'll trim just a little bit, but I think I could get it to come out through here and just go right past this spot right here, and then right into there, and right into there. With this kit came a selection of fittings. That's it right here, so I'm just gonna pop this off. This is essentially a brake line, like a 3/8 brake line or fuel line or whatever, and this just screws right in there and seals off. This one screws right in there. I'm not sure why there's 3, but for some reason they gave me an extra one, which is, you know, fine by me. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these down now so I don't forget, but I'm sure somebody's gonna come in and say that I should use some thread sealant or whatever on this. If you look down here, it's got sort of like this inverted flare, and it sits up against the flare in the adapter here, and that's gonna seal up there tightly. If by chance it does leak, whatever, I'll just take it off and put some sealer on there. But it being the same as a brake line, I doubt that's gonna happen. I'm gonna pull off my turbo inlet pipe here, just so we can have some room and be able to see. Gotta remember to put this thing back on. Don't wanna have any unfiltered air or anything getting in there. All right, so lower line is here, upper line is there. I'm gonna take the upper one first, just because it's easy enough to get at. And I put down a little tray to collect any fluid. All right, so there's a little clip right here that's, if you're not careful, will fly off and never be seen again. Just gotta be real careful with that, because, well, actually, I don't even need it anymore, to be honest. But I like to keep them. Come on, get off. I just like to keep them just in case I need one day. All right, now just remove this. And it's not gonna lose much fluid because it's at the top of the line. All that's gonna drain back into the pan anyway. Or at least like a little bit of it will. So basically what I'm gonna do is, you see how there's a flare on the end of this line? I'm not gonna mess around cutting this off, joining in and fittings and all that. I'm gonna slip the hose right over this. Next up, just route the hose in around the radiator. And I'm gonna leave myself a bit of extra slack here and just push. And I'm gonna slide 2 clamps over my hose. This is the clamps I'm gonna use. They are part number 52F1661. It's a fuel injection clamp, but they're the high pressure ones. Okay. I like to double them up. So I'll put 2 clamps on each line, on each connection. And basically just push the hose on over the flared line. And it's going to take a little bit. I'm going to spray a little bit of honeydew just on the connection there, just to help that hose slip on a little bit easier, because it can be super tight going on there. and just basically wrangle it until it gets into place. Now this is not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy to do, but you will get it. Just get it in over about an inch or so. Put clamps on over, make sure there's enough room to get both clamps on. Which on this case, there's lots of room. And now we can see that that is absolutely not going to come apart. The line is back past the flare and both clamps are behind the flare, so in order to push this off, it would basically have to explode. And I'm going to route my line in behind the hood bracket and basically cut it off right there. Got the two clamps put aside. I'm just going to cut that off pretty much a couple inches too long or an inch too long, just to make sure that I have enough. Just cut that. I'm not 100% sure about this Amazon hose. I don't have any hose here that will be better for it. Like, I have Barricade fuel line and stuff, but I don't know what that's like with oil and heat and that kind of thing. So I'm going to use this for now. But if I have any issues with this whatsoever, you know, I will tell you guys. All right, done that one. Just going to move that one down to the bottom, just to make sure that I have full engagement on the barb. There we go. Now I'll come down here to the bottom. I'm sure this one is going to be full of oil. Probably make a bit of a mess, but I got the tray on the bottom, and you're going to expect fluid to come out anyway. The next line is right under here, and I'm going to try to do this quickly enough so I don't lose much fluid out of the line itself. A little bit coming out of the transmission, but not too bad. Now this hose is stiff. If I can get that to go over these transmission lines. There we go, getting there. I forgot to put clamps on, but I'll just put them over the other end. This is hard work. Got it over the hose. Just gonna slip two clamps on. I like to put them on opposite like this, with one nut on top, one nut on bottom, facing the same direction. I don't know if that's necessary or anything like that, but I just like to do it. It seems like it gives it equal clamping force on each side. That's the only reason I do it. You can do whatever you like. Slide the clamp over the barb. And I'll hand check all these. I just want to spend 10 minutes tightening up clamps, especially in a tight spot like this. All right, feed this hose out through the same location. As far as I can tell, it doesn't matter which hose goes in which side. It's not really a thing. Two clamps. And I'm going to put this hose below that one and just put that one down there like that. That looks good. I know a lot of people go with the AN stuff. I don't know. I just don't have money for it, really. And this will work absolutely fine. Okay, so top outwards because I like to keep things symmetric. That goes down over. Look at that. Doesn't that look nice? That is super cool. Now I'm not sure what the capacity is of this cooler, but I'm gonna throw in a quart anyway because I'm sure I lost a little bit of fluid over here when I took off the original cooler. This thing probably holds a quart. So I'm gonna dump that in, fire it up, and see how much we're down. Let's fire it up and check the level. Okay, right off the bat, no leaks or anything. Everything looks nice and dry. Okay, it looks good there. This is nice and dry. Down there looks good. Man, that is a big cooler. Holy. Okay, we're right down below the cold mark, so I'm gonna put a little tiny bit more in, but I think that's pretty much gonna do it. Fluid is all topped up. Look at that, man. That is super cool. It looks so good. I just want to lay the grill in place to see how it looks. Look at that. Can't even tell it's there. Just a nice stock truck. Nothing big. Nothing to see here. I like it a lot. So it is all installed and it looks absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna grab a couple like hose clamps or something just to kind of separate this off here. Maybe make up a little bracket to stop the hoses from rubbing, because I don't want this to fail and cost me a 4L60, because, you know, a 4L60 doesn't need any help blowing up. And that would be just irresponsible. But that's it for the install. I am all done here today. I will have lots and lots of testing. That's going to be in like future videos or shorts if you're into watching the shorts. I put out those like far too many times a day. I'm sure I irritate people. But there's lots of information. There's lots to see, and sometimes I can't put it all in a full-length video. It's just little tidbits here and there, so watch those if you like. So I just want to extend a huge thank you to Jorge for sending me this TruCool 40K. And it was very gracious of you to send me this, and I really appreciate it. So when I get out and get some testing done, I will have some videos up on that. Check back for more. So I'm all done for today. Thanks so much for checking out the channel. Thanks to my YouTube members, patrons, and subscribers. If you want to check out my Patreon, it's patreon.com/stationroadratrods. YouTube members link is down here. And thanks for watching. Have a great day, everybody.